1. It was Halloween night, and the town had turned into a spooky wonderland. Children dressed as ghosts, witches, and monsters frolicked through the streets. Like every year, a haunted house was set up in an abandoned mansion at the end of Elm Street. I had no idea that this Halloween would be a night of terror and survival for me. As the sun set and darkness enveloped the city, I decided to join in the fun and attend the annual Halloween party at the mansion. Dressed as a vampire, I blended in perfectly with the crowd of ghouls and demons. The creepy music, dimly lit rooms, and the smell of fear in the air added to the authenticity of the haunted house. But by late afternoon, things took a sinister turn. The partygoers began to show their true colors, revealing their sadistic intentions. What was once a harmless event turned into a nightmare. Masked figures suddenly turned into bloodthirsty maniacs, stalking and torturing everyone in sight. Panicked, I thrashed through the winding corridors of the mansion, my heart pounding in my chest. The howling wind outside seemed to echo the screams of the victims. I came across a room full of costumes and realized that these monsters wore disguises not only for Halloween, but to hide their true identities. As I hid behind the costume counter, my thoughts were racing. I needed a plan to get out of this hellish trap. My eyes looked around the room, and that's when I saw the escape machine. A red motorcycle stood in the corner of the room, shimmering in the pale moonlight. It seemed like my only chance of survival. Taking a deep breath, I gathered my courage and ran. I raced toward the bike, adrenaline pushing me forward. Just as I was about to get on it, a scream pierced the room, making me freeze in place. I turned around and saw one of the monsters rushing towards me with a devilish grin on his face. In a fit of desperation, I fought back, using all my strength to push him away. I managed to free myself from his grip and jumped on the bike, revitalizing it. The echo of the engine drowned out the chaos around me as I sped past the hordes of monsters, their roars fading into the distance. For hours I raced through the darkness, my heart still pounding in my ears. Finally, I reached the outskirts of the city, where the monsters dared not enter. I stopped, shivering with fatigue and relief. As I caught my breath, I realized the true nature of Halloween. It was a night when the line between reality and fantasy blurred, when the masks we wore revealed our darkest desires. But I survived, escaping the clutches of those who wanted to do harm. Now every Halloween, when the kids roam the streets again looking for treats, I remember that night, the night I became a character in my own thriller. And though that memory still haunts me, I am grateful for the strength and resilience it gave me. That night brings darkness and danger, but also the potential for survival and triumph. 2. Haunted Manor. My heart pounded in my chest as I wandered through the dark, eerie corridors of the haunted manor. The flickering candle in my hand barely lit the path in front of me, and the creaking floorboards echoed through the silence, heightening my fear. I had always been drawn to the supernatural, seeking adventure in the mysteries that surrounded us. When I heard tales of a haunted estate, I couldn't resist the call. Legend spoke of an ancient curse that had befallen the mansion, and it was said that those brave enough to enter would face unimaginable horrors. As I traveled deeper into the mansion, the air grew colder and a sense of dread gripped me. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and taking bizarre shapes that sent shivers down my spine. I felt the presence of something sinister lurking out of sight. Suddenly the silence was broken by a low, guttural growl. My heart raced as I turned around, the candlelight casting eerie shadows around me. There, in the dim light, plus I saw a figure lurking in the corner. His eyes glowed with malicious energy, and a shiver ran down my spine. I continued to explore, each room revealing a new horror. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with a life of their own. I could hear whispers in every corner, as if the walls themselves were speaking to me. The portraits on the walls seemed to follow my every move, their eyes following my every step. In one room I came across a decaying book, its pages filled with passages of dark rituals and bloody sacrifices. I hastily closed the book, sensing someone's presence behind me. I turned around and saw standing in front of me a ghostly figure with black and soulless eyes. It held out a bony hand, and I recoiled in horror. As I traveled deeper into the manor, the horrors grew more intense. Ghostly screams echoed through the halls, and the walls were filled with otherworldly energy. I felt the weight of the curse pressing down on me, its dark energy threatening to consume my soul. Finally, I reached the heart of the manor, a room shrouded in darkness. As I cautiously entered, a malevolent force slammed the door behind me, locking me inside. The room was filled with a suffocating presence, and the darkness seemed to permeate my very being. I could feel the spirits of the damned swirling around me, their moans of agony filling the air. They whispered their tales of torment, their voices echoing in my head. I screamed, but the sound was drowned out by their woeful cries. Just when I felt all hope was lost, an explosion of fierce light filled the room. The curse was broken and the spirits were freed from their eternal torment. The room was cleared and I was freed from the clutches of the haunted manor. Standing outside, under the rising of a new day, I looked back at the manor. It stood, silent and empty, as if its secrets had never existed. But I knew the truth. The horrors I had encountered were real, and I would carry the memories of the haunted manor with me forever.